Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to build an adjustable incline bench. I started my build by cutting out all my framing using my miter saw. Then I had to mark the locations of the feet and legs for the dados so that all the parts would fit together. I wanted to take my time with these dados to make sure that everything fit tight so nothing would be loose or sloppy. Then I used my circular saw to carve out dados in the 4x4. This looks like it would be very intimidating, and it's really not that difficult to do. It's just repetitive, taking very small slices and very small cuts. One thing I would suggest is wearing eye protection because wood chips will be flying all around. I cut 2 large dados in the 4x4 crossbeam to fit the 4x4 upright. I also cut a large dado in each foot to fit the upright as well. I used wood glue to glue in the upright into the crossbeam and each foot. Again, I wanted each dado to be very tight and very precise. I also checked it for perpendicularity to make sure everything was square and ready to go. I used a plastic dead blow hammer to make any minor adjustments in the perpendicularity that needed to be made. Next, I marked center line at each joint so that I can put in a lag screw. First, I drilled it with an 1.5 inch wood drill bit, deep enough to fit the head of the screw and the washer that's going to be on it. Then I drilled it with a 1/4 inch drill bit. Then I cleaned out all the wood chips, and I used a 1/2 inch drill motor and a 9/16 socket to drive a 5 inch lag screw into each joint. The lag screw was a 3/8 inch by 5 inch long screw. I used a breakover bar to ensure that each joint was tight. With a combination of the glue and the 5 inch lag screw, these joints should be stable. Next, I used the drill press to drill 3/8 inch holes perpendicular through the back supports. Now I use some 3/8 inch all thread to go through the beam and both back supports, and I needed to cut that all thread to length using a hacksaw. Once it was cut to length, then I could use washers and nuts to test fit everything to make sure it was all going to pivot correctly. I used my saber saw and my palm sander to round off the ends of each 1x2. Then I had to cut a series of smaller dados for the back adjustment. Specific number and location of the dados on this crossbeam can be tailored to fit your needs. I tried to lower the bench all the way down after I got all my dados cut and found out that it would not lower all the way down, that I had made a mistake. The pivot location for the incline on the backrest was way too low on the 4x4. And I'm showing you this to show you how you can fix things instead of starting all over from scratch. I had put way too much time into cutting all these dados for me to start over with a fresh 4x4. I got a 3/8 inch pine dowel rod. The cost is about $1 for 4 feet of the pine dowel rod. They also have it in other woods as well. Cut off a section of it and hammer it into the hole. If it does not fit tightly in the hole, you can always use wood glue to hold it in. Then you can cut it off at each end and sand it smooth. Now I'm going to use the assembled back to relocate this pivot point for the incline. Now the pivot point is located properly, the incline will fit flat. After repairing the incline, now it's time to install the seat. It was time to give it one more test and check everything for fit and finish before we go into the finishing phase. Because I had moved the pivot point up, the seat back sat up about 1/4 inch too high now. So I had to relocate the seat back. Now that everything fits together, it's time to round off all the edges and sand all the surfaces to get it ready to paint. I sprayed my incline bench with clear coat Minwax. It does yellow the wood a little bit, but it will fit into the room that I've got it designed for. You don't have to paint your bench if you don't want to. However, if you leave bare wood, eventually it's going to show hand stains and wear marks. After letting the clear coat cure for a couple of days, it was time for final assembly. All of the dimensions for you to be able to build this bench are included in a link in the description below. I'm taking my time to make sure that this final assembly is correct before putting the bench into use. And now it's time to try this bench out. The best way to test this bench is to sit in it and test all of the inclines. I added 4 rubber non-slip pads on the feet of the weight bench so that it wouldn't scratch the floor up and it wouldn't move when I was using the bench. And the bench looks right at home beside the dumbbell rack. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. I've got more to come.